Now, even while Israel is dealing with terror threats and a crime wave in the Arab sector, Israel's two top law enforcement officials, the Attorney General Gali Baharav-Miara and National Security Minister Itamar Ben Gvir, are seemingly locked into a war with each other. Their latest and potentially most serious conflict involves a criminal investigation into the chief commissioner of the prison service and the senior police officer in the West Bank, with Ben Gvir now accusing the Attorney General of having ideological motives for a criminal probe. Joining us in the studio, our correspondent Nicole Tzedek. Nicole, lay the groundwork for this fairly complex affair.
It is certainly a complex affair, but I'll start out with the latest, and that's the fact that National Security Minister Itamar Ben Gvir is accusing the Attorney General of attempting a coup. And he says this is all in line with the past Attorney General's efforts to really oust the National Security Minister for her claims that Ben Gvir has intervened in different operational police matters and even used promotions for political purposes in his realm. And so that's what right now the National Security Minister is stating when it comes to these different criminal probes. But what we know, as far as the little Hebrew media reports that we know, because many of the details of these investigation is under a gag order, but the reports say that there's two instances, one of them being the top West Bank police officer, Avishai Mualem, and he's accused of giving classified information to National Security Minister Itamar Ben Gvir in exchange or promise for a promotion. Now, in the other instance, with the prison services chief, Yaakov Yacobi, he's accused of, this is a little bit more complex, this whole report, but basically asking a female police officer to tell another officer to remove some messages on the Telegram messaging app that painted Ben Gvir in a bad light or were detrimental to his image. And this officer was said if they don't remove these messages from Telegram, that their career would be in jeopardy. And so the different criminal investigation that we're looking at, and we're talking about breach of trust, tampering with an investigation, bad integrity as well. This is some of the rumblings that we have, even though it is under a gag order. And it's because of these instances that it falls under National Security Minister Itamar Ben Gvir. He's the one who oversees both the prison services and the police officers. And so now what we're hearing from some of the opposition party, including the member of the Yesh Atid Knesset member Meirav Ben-Ari, she's stating that it's Itamar Ben Gvir who is really the main man over these charges. Let's take a listen to what she had to tell our I-24 News Hebrew channel.
The worst thing here today is that the Chief Commissioner of the Israel Prison Service and the Senior Police Officer of the Judea and Samaria District are being investigated by the police on criminal allegations. And that's something certainly regarding the Prisons Commissioner that hasn't happened in years. And this is happening under the watch of a minister who is already an abject failure when it comes to fighting crime, whether it's in the Arab sector or Jewish sector, or overall in providing personal security. And we have to point out that much of his entourage is also under police investigation, his assistants, his driver. So it is not surprising, but it is still infuriating that also the Prisons Commissioner and a senior police officer are now under suspicion. And while we should stress that these are allegations, it is still infuriating.
So you heard from Meirav Ben-Ari that she says Ben Gvir is an abject failure when it comes to his policy implementations. And this is a lot of the criticism that we hear about the National Security Minister and his policy, or really lack of policy, when it comes to cracking down on nationalistic crimes, Jewish settler violence in the West Bank. And so this all comes back to right now what Ben Gvir is stating, that these two investigations and the people that the Attorney General is going after all becomes because they're following his orders, because they're going after the same West Bank policies that he wants to be implemented. And he all comes back to this, stating that this is not what the Attorney General wants to see, and all comes back to this different politicization, really, and as you mentioned, the ideological dilemma and accusations that we're seeing between these two ruling parties.
And Jack, one reason why this certainly extends beyond a political story is because Itamar Ben Gvir is in charge of national security, including the fighting terror domestically within Israel in terms of the police, and also policing in the West Bank. And then it becomes international because, for example, we see Europe and the United States, the governments there passing sanctions on some of the same figures that Itamar Ben Gvir says his police will no longer crack down on.
Well, this is exactly the point that that is here in focus. I mean, the minister has a policy how to protect the settlers in the West Bank. So because of that, he will do anything, and if he needs to push and promote some officers he'd like, because most of them come from this area, have served in this area, and they know him for a long time. So this is the ground upon which these elements grow, and this is the final outcome of it is that because of the policy of the ministers, the police is those police who are involved in this affair have just chosen to side with the minister instead of being loyal to their own job. And because of that, this is what we see right now. It's a series of declarations of the minister. Why is the Shabak involved in arresting activists in the West Bank? Why is the Shabak doing so and so, and demanding to correct the situation, meaning to transform the area as untouchables. Untouchable, meaning that the law in Israel would not apply to those people. And this is the core of the problem.
Right, and as we should note again, this has attracted international attention to the point where the Biden administration and certain European countries and the EU have passed sanctions against some of these individuals.
Well, you know, it's not by coincidence that he has chosen this title, the Minister of National Security. I mean, the former one was Minister of the Police. So national security means that he has to be inside the whole business of security.